Class is in session, hitting the books. College basketball show Thursday, March 27th. The Sweet 16 round of the NCAA tournament begins tonight. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack with you. We really only have 4 college basketball shows left. We've got this one. We'll be with you Saturday morning. That'll be our Elite 8 show. We'll do a Final Four show next Saturday, probably at 8 a.m. Pacific. And then, of course, we got the National Championship show. That's it. So we really have 4 shows left here. As far as college basketball is concerned, as the season just flies by, winding down before you know it. But we've got some very interesting matchups, not the Cinderella stories that sometimes we see break through to the Sweet 16, the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. There's no Loyola Chicago. There's no Florida Atlantic this time around making a run to the Sweet 16. It's mostly all power conference teams. But nevertheless, the one thing about that is it's given us some pretty good matchups on paper here in the Sweet 16. So hopefully they deliver. Let's begin with Thursday night, tonight's action here, and we will start in the East Regional. Arizona taking on Duke. This is the second of the 2 games, by the way, tonight. We're going in betting rotation order. We've got Duke 9.5-point favorites, 154.5 the total in this game. I'm going to be that stubborn guy that makes a case for Arizona. I get it. Step in front of, bet against Duke at your own risk. Clearly, this is a dominant team. When Cooper Flagg plays like he did against Baylor, and when Tyrese Proctor is raining in trays and 3-pointers like he did against Baylor, good luck trying to beat this team, to go with the rebounding prowess, the defense. Don't forget about what Kneppel can do, offensively as well. I mean, they've got everything. And of course, Malawak and the size, Malawach and the size they've got too down low. I know what I'm getting into, trying to make a case here for Arizona. Duke just wins and covers. That seems to be their season in a nutshell. But, Arizona does have some things going for them. Arizona has a guy in Caleb Love that has thrived playing well against Duke, going back to his days at North Carolina. He always has played this Duke team very well. He's a gifted scorer. And he gave me the confidence that he could have a big game here with the way he played in the win against Oregon on Sunday night. He was the difference. His scoring put Arizona over the top in that win against the Oregon Ducks. And he's always played Duke very well. And I think you might see that continue here tonight. And he's going to have to, because sometimes the scoring outside of him is hit and miss for these Wildcats. But I'm going to take my chance here. Arizona plus 9.5. The one thing about Duke here going into this game too, Baylor's been an up and down team. I still feel that the ACC did not test them very much. And in the non-conference, those were the games that they did have to struggle. Now, they did beat Arizona. This is actually a rematch as well of a regular season game. Duke went to Tucson, to the McHale Center, and they beat Arizona wire to wire in Arizona. And it was a pretty impressive win for Duke at the time. Not that revenge matters. You're trying to win a national championship. That's not going to give one team more motivation, but hopefully this is an opportunity for Tommy Lloyd to use that loss to Duke to make your adjustments, have a better kind of approach and game plan here going into this game. So I'm going to take my chance here. Duke, to me, is still, you're not getting any bargains with them. Everyone knows how good they are, and I still think from a point spread value standpoint, they're overvalued. So I'm going to go with Arizona. I know what I'm getting into. Duke could win by 10, 15, or 20. I get it, but I'm going to take Arizona. I like the over too. I agree with Justin there. Duke is suddenly scoring in bunches, and their games are starting to go over the total, because as good as they are defensively, that offense is humming right now. And you're going to get a lot of pace in a game involving Arizona. That's the way they play. They want to get up and down the basketball court. C-Mac, what do you think here for this first game, Arizona-Duke?
Yeah, well, in this game, Caleb Love needs to be big, what you talked about. I mean, I think he was 1 for 8 or 1 for 9 in that matchup earlier this year. I mean, that's not going to cut it. Again, they were at home. Arizona a little
by double digits, that kind of a stat line tonight. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But he had big games against them. You're talking about when he was in North Carolina. This game might go over. There's 2 things. I think Duke gets their team total. I think Arizona stays under their team total. I think that leads to me kind of laying it here with Duke. I just think their defense is that good and could get the job done here. It was tight with Baylor. I don't see it. When maybe. I don't know if the pace will be there. They had 55 in that game. They shot the ball horrible. Do they break 70? Does Arizona? I'm not so sure in this game at all. So I think their team total under 72.5 is good. And I think Duke can get theirs. I think Duke rolls on.
There you go.
They're just too good right now.
Lean Duke and Arizona team total under, and I kind of like Arizona and a full game over, so I like it. We got differing opinions there on the first game out of the chute. Next up, we've got BYU and Alabama, the other East Regional semifinal tonight. This is the first game to tip off. We've got Alabama 4.5-point favorites, 175.5 the total in this game. High total, but I did bet it over. I did, and here's the reason. These teams are going to go up and down the court. The pace is going to be there. We know that. And what I think from a matchup standpoint is I think BYU can score on Alabama because they have inside scoring. They have the perimeter firepower as well. And Alabama has a defense that comes and goes. And this will be let's be honest, for Alabama, this is going to be a greater test than fucking St. Mary's and Robert Morris. This is a step up now for Alabama on the defensive side of the basketball court. What they're going to be facing, because BYU, there's very few offenses in better form going into this Sweet 16 round than BYU. That being said, BYU stinks as far as perimeter D. They are not good defending the three ball, and we know Alabama, that's their creme de la creme. That's their specialty, the three-point shot. I think they have a chance to have those threes falling tonight because of that leaky, below average BYU three-point defense, which has been an issue for them all season. So I get it. It's a high total, but I see a lot of pace. I see both teams being able to do what they want offensively. And look, BYU, Wisconsin, I was on the over last weekend with that game. It went over this number as far as total points are concerned. And Alabama, how many times have we been here with Alabama this year with these totals in the 170s? They still go over. So I made the case for the over. I bet it at 174. I still like it at 175 and a half. I'm going to take a chance, though, with the points in BYU. Like I said, another factor for me is Alabama's taken a step up from the St. Mary's and Robert Morris duo that they beat. Meanwhile, I thought BYU beat two terrific teams, CMAC, VCU and Wisconsin, to get here to the second weekend. Those are two damn good basketball teams. I think they are battle-tested enough to give Alabama a game and maybe even challenge to win this game outright. So I'm taking the Cougs here, plus 4.5, along with that over. CMAC, what do you think here, BYU, Bama?
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been many totals this high, this late in the NCAA tournament. I think it's probably 30 years.
Yeah, a regional semifinal. When's the last time we've had a 170s total? I would be interested to know that. Yep.
It's got to be mid to early 90s. I got to think. I don't think there's. It
hasn't been recently.
Sure. Yeah, definitely not recently. That's for sure. Look, this Alabama team's really good, and they're going to score because BYU's defense isn't great. I still don't trust their defense, but they have enough scores here. I could see them winning this. I think the matchup, though, is all right here for BYU. Like, I was more worried about VCU because BYU would struggle against Houston. Teams like that, good defenses. But, when they would play Kansas or Arizona or Utah, all these teams throughout the whole year, they've been very, very good. And this team the last 6 weeks has been a little over that. The best offense in the country has BYU. They've been good down low. Of course, they shoot a ton of threes. They got plenty of options. I think they're live here. I think they're live. We're taking a shot even like maybe some first half here. They've been, when I was going through the games too, they've been great on this run first half. The only game they didn't was Houston, and they got blown out. I think they were down by 15 or 20 in that game. So I think they have the shooters to be in this from jump. So I like BYU earlier.
All right, Arkansas, Texas Tech, 5.5-point favorites, 147.5 the total in this game. I mean, John Calipari and Arkansas, you've got to give them credit. This run that they've been on has been impressive. Here they are now after winning in the first two rounds, a big win against St. John's over the weekend. Getting healthier, they got Boogie Flan back, of course, in the last game. And, of course, a guy that has been out for a very long time, Theodoro, for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He's coming back from injury as well going into this game. So
is he back for sure?
He was expected to be. Last I looked, he was expected to play here. Yesterday.
I guess him and McMillan. I don't know how much both of those guys are going to do much. Like
Yeah,
McMillan's
Chance
been
McMillan on the other side for Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Is
for
expected to
Texas Tech.
return. That's a big deal. That's a double-digit
He's
score.
huge. If he was really healthy, I think it'd be a different. Like I really like Tech. But go ahead, keep on.
And that's what you have to ask yourself too. I mean, these are two big players on either side that are coming back to play tonight. Adu Thiero for Arkansas, and then of course, as you mentioned, Chance McMillan here for Texas Tech. And that's a lot of scoring back in the lineup. So does that push this game over the total? I don't know. Because one thing I do know is that these are two pretty good defensive teams. Arkansas is playing better defense. Texas Tech's a good defensive team. The pace is going to be not as, high as some of the other games we just talked about. So I could make a case for probably the under, believe it or not, because I thought this total would be more in the low to mid 140s, not so much the high 140s. It's very difficult for me to lay points against Arkansas. They're on a run, but Texas Tech to me matches up pretty well. I think it could make it difficult on Arkansas to score in this game. I don't think Arkansas is going to have quite that ability in the paint like maybe they've had in previous games. Tech might be able to do something about that. It's a well-rounded defensive team. I think Texas Tech probably does win in advance. It's just a question, do you want to lay the 5.5? I've got to admit, this is one of the lighter opinions I have of the Sweet 16 games. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, that's how I feel. Both those guys coming back are just a lot of points like you talked about, and difference makers. I think with McMillan, it could be really huge. But I mean, I don't know how much he seems all right shooting, but I don't know if he's going to really
both
do
Chance
much.
McMillan for Tech and Adu Thiero for Arkansas, they've been out for a while. So how effective are they?
Oh, yeah, they've been out for a minute now, these two guys. Yeah, I don't know if the pace is going to be there. I thought Tech, with him gone, and their defense has kind of slipped as the year went on. Arkansas played a little bit more overs. But these games, I think they're going to get tight. I think we've talked a little too much about some overs. BYU and Alabama, of course, the pace will be there. But I'm not so sure here. The more I've gone into this game, I look at under. The first half, I think 69.5. I've been really looking at that. I think this game could stay under the number. I'm off here, too. I mean, it seems like Arkansas is a real favorite here, public dog, everyone loves, but do you want to lay 5.5? Texas Tech, I think they kind of had an easy road here, sloppy, but they still win by 10. They shot a ton of threes, and I got to give it with Drake. They pounded them inside. They didn't shoot a ton of threes, only went 2 of 14 in that game, but were able to shut Drake down and win that game. So I wasn't too impressed. So I'm looking under your first half.
All right, under, but specifically first half here for CMAC with Arkansas, Texas Tech. All right, last game.
I don't want fouls late.
I don't blame you. The way this tournament's gone, I don't blame you at all. Especially with the game involving this team in their last game, Florida, at the end of their game against UConn. But this is the last game for Thursday, Maryland, Florida. We've got Florida 6.5-point favorites, 156.5 the total. This is another high total here between these two teams. Is this one a little too high? Both of these teams can play defense when they're on. There's no question about that. So it's a little surprising the total's this high between Maryland and Florida. I like the Gators here. This is probably the favorite that I like the most in the Sweet 16 round. If you ask me, Ian, what team would you lay points with in this round? For me, it would be Florida. I think Maryland was lucky to get past Colorado State. Now, granted, Colorado State's had a great finish to the season, but they got away with that. I think their size with Queen and company, it can just feast on teams. It won't feast on Florida. Florida's got the size. Florida's got the girth in the front court. Now, it didn't look like it at times against UConn because at times UConn kind of dominated the glass. But I think that's a wake-up call for them. And I like it when a team gets tested, doesn't play well, plays their C- game like the Florida Gators did against UConn, but they survive. They find a way to win despite not their best game, and they advance. And I think now you do get their best game. And if you get their best game, they're going to win this game by more than this point spread because, to me, that is what Todd Golden's team is very, very capable of. Plus, you got an NBA-bound prospect that is just nails clutch in Walter Clayton. And I don't know if there's anyone on this Maryland team that's got someone like that can be a closer if this game's late. And Florida's good free throw shooting team. So if the point spread's in doubt late in the game, they can make their free throws to cover the numbers. So I like Florida here. We're going to do the old Gator chomp here. Florida -6.5 in this one. CMAC, Maryland, Florida.
Yeah, I think if you like Florida, look at Clayton. We talked about it. Richard, Martin. I mean, even Martin and Richard, I think you could get some good numbers with them, just over 1.5. They seem to definitely shoot threes a ton. So look at props for those guys in this game. I have already. This Maryland team, they're not deep here. In a game like this, I think that could hurt them. But I think they have the talent here down low to hang around. And their few of their guards have to hit some threes. They kind of done it all year. Their 8 losses, Babano, none of them here by more than 7. So they lost by 1, 3, 3, 2, 4, 6, 5, and 4. And that was like Michigan State. Of course, we're talking about Michigan, the whole gamut. And what was their, hold on, some of these losses early on. So Ohio State by 3. Purdue by
they haven't
5
lost by
at Purdue.
margin very much, but this is probably the best team they've played all year. That would be my.
It is. Both teams escaped. I usually like that for one team, but they both did.
Yeah.
During the next game, and I could see why people like Florida. But in the end, I think Maryland hangs in this game.
All right, making the case here for Maryland plus the points here in this one. All right, Michigan and now we're going to Friday. By the way, the next 4 games are Friday. Sweet 16 action. Michigan, Auburn. Auburn 9-point favorites. The total sitting at 153.5 across the board in this game. Dusty May deserves all the flowers. This is a tremendous job by him because there was a time late in the Big Ten season where we were wondering, geez, this team's falling apart. Are they going to get it back together? Kind of floundering down the stretch. But you know what's been good? The difference, they got their confidence back, and they've got everybody collectively playing their best basketball right now. That is why Michigan's been able to put this run together. 5 straight wins, 5 straight covers, going back to the end of the regular season where they beat Purdue, they beat Maryland, and then, of course, they beat Wisconsin in the final of the Big Ten championship. They survived an upset bid from UC San Diego, the Tritons, who are a very talented team. And then to be down the whole game, even by double digits at one point in the second half, and come all the way back and beat A&M and just take that game over, dominate down the stretch, and beat A&M by 12, 91-79. Vlad Golden's playing great. Danny Wolf's playing great. These 2 twin towers in the front court have been phenomenal. Trey Donaldson has turned into a dynamo as far as shooting, facilitating, all that stuff. Now, the X factor in that A&M game was, are you going to get 26 points and 7 of 14 shooting again from Roddy Gale off the bench? Because that's not what a lot of people expected. So that really fueled that comeback against A&M, kind of an anomaly that this guy stepped up. But you're getting 9 points. I know Auburn won and covered against Creighton, but Creighton had them on the ropes. Creighton led at halftime against Auburn. And Auburn was not great in that game. I think Auburn missed some wide open looks. Auburn, I think, Creighton kind of got worn down later in that game as it went on. I'm not trusting Auburn laying 9. I'm not. And all they've got is a coach that took a team to the Final Four in Dusty May, who did it at Florida Atlantic, who now has this time to prepare. Now, this is not me slamming Bruce Pearl from a coaching standpoint. He's very good, but you're going to give Dusty May a week to prepare, a guy that's been here in the regional round before, won a regional, got into the Final Four. Obviously, he's a good tournament prep coach. He's put it on display. And you're going to give me 9 points with him? I'm taking it. Michigan, +9 for me. Al, what do you think here in this one, C-Mac?
I know. I keep going back here. With May's coaching, I think Michigan could be in it. And, looking at it like I was, game where they escaped against Maryland was the last game they had a bunch of turnovers, I forget, 17 or something like that. But since they've gone on this run, even against A&M, they had 8. They did, I think, have 13 or 14 against UC San Diego. But Wisconsin, I think they had 7 or 8 in that game. They keep it single digits. I think they're live. I like the over the best here. I think these 2 teams, this is my favorite look. I think it's good to 155. As long as you catch number there, there's still 153s out here, 153 and a half. I think we get over the number. There's plenty of points. And yeah, as much as I love Auburn, and I talk about, that's why I like the over. Their defense has just been a little bit different. We saw it. I had Creighton in that first half, the first half money line. Then they kind of, things happened the second half. But Michigan will lean over here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the total. I like over 153 here in this one for sure. Auburn hasn't been defending as well of late. There's no question about that down the stretch. Michigan can still come and go defensively. Both teams are going to push the ball in transition. That's significant. What's good for Auburn is Chad Baker-Mazara really had stepped up big time for them in the win against Creighton. They need his offense moving forward. If he can deliver that kind of performance, that's certainly going to help the Auburn Tigers without a doubt.
I might be on a prop or two. I got to look at these games tomorrow. A few of the props.
Yeah, the only one I like
maybe
is
Golden
tonight because he just plays well against Duke. That's the only prop I took.
What was his point total?
I got to go back and look here, but yeah, I bet it this morning.
18 and a half.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's worth a lot. 16 and a half. Sorry, I got actually it's 18 and a half. It's gone up then since I got a 16.
I was throwing it out there. I hadn't looked. I thought it was 17 and a half.
17 and a half now at most books. Okay. Yeah, I got it at 16 and a half. But yeah, that's the prop I like tonight. All right, Ole Miss, Michigan State. Michigan State 3.5 point favorites, 143 and a half the total in this game. Props to Tom Izzo sounding off on the ridiculousness of the transfer portal opening during the middle of the NCAA tournament. That is absolutely absurd. I agree with that.
It is.
Let's do our business after the tournament ends. Come on. Does free agency and the NFL season start before the Super Bowl? I mean, come on. Like let's use our heads here. Let's have a little common sense. It's ridiculous. Now, if you're gonna try to act like college basketball is a business, as far as player transactions like NBA and NHL, will treat it like a business. Don't start that shit when the season's still going on for a lot of teams. So I agree with him fully with that little tirade he had.
Come on.
Tom is stupidity. Yeah, it is. I kind of like Tom Izzo and his Spartans here. I think they might advance. I mean, Chris Beard's a hell of a tournament coach, but I keep looking at Ole Miss's pathway, CMAC, to get here. I mean, North Carolina, who didn't even belong in the tournament, and Iowa State without one of their best players, Keyshawn Gilbert. I mean, you could poke holes in both of those wins for Ole Miss. Now, nice wins, they played well, but there was issues with flaws with both of those opponents for Ole Miss. I think this will be tougher, and I think the one thing is Ole Miss can't out-defend Michigan State because Michigan State's playing some unbelievable defense right now, and they're playing good on the glass right now, which is another area Ole Miss has been strong in. So I think Michigan State can kind of negate the Ole Miss strengths here in this game. So I've got Michigan State in a parlay, money line parlay. I didn't lay 3.5, but I put them in a money line parlay with another team that we're going to talk about for Friday. CMAC, what do you think here? Ole Miss, Michigan State. Two great coaches going at it, Beard and Izzo.
Yeah, for sure. Michigan State's been good. And get back to, that's why I think Michigan could hang in the game we're talking about is the game before is because the big guys they have and the way they hit the glass. So this is strange. Like, to me, it's like, why was this low? I thought this should have been 5.5. This hasn't moved. All the money here is on Michigan State. But I'm looking at the last few days. It's like, it's insane. All the tickets, all the money. And another problem is Michigan State in this game wants to play with their defense. You talked about how they've been good rebounding, slow it down. They've been great under team. And Ole Miss plays more to the over. Their defense, I don't think, is as good, but two great coaches. And Ole Miss, again, shot the ball unbelievably great. Again, against Iowa State. I know they were missing. We kind of talked about. I wish I had them big the other day. I wanted to fade Iowa State. I was kind of thinking they might get by and then fade them here. So I was kind of kicking myself that I had put the more money here on Ole Miss when they beat Iowa State. But yeah, I mean, what was this here? 11 from 19 from 3, 58%. Shot 76 from the line, 58%. And they did kind of similar against North Carolina. I don't know if that happens, but I have nothing here in this one. It's like, is this number too short? This gives me the easy 7 to 10 point win, for Michigan State. a little bit tricky. So I need a little bit more time with this game.
Yeah, it's a tricky game. I like I said, I think this is a solid matchup here for the Spartans. I think Spartans, because they rely so much on a tight knit group. The Spartans, they could be in for a tough. If they survive and they win this, they could be in tough Saturday when they Sunday, I should say, when they play in the regional final, the turnaround, the second game in 3 days. But I think,
and that's the Auburn-Michigan game, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. They'll play the winner of that game in the South Regional final. All right, the other two games on Friday, it is the Midwest Regional, Lucas Oil Stadium for these next two games, Purdue and Houston. Houston 8-point favorites, 131.5 the total here in this one. To me, this is the end of the road for Purdue. Good job for Purdue beating McNeese State, beating High Point. You go from McNeese State and High Point, two of the mid-majors you got to get to this point, and now you got to take on one of the best teams and one of the best defenses in the country. And Purdue is eventually going to pay the price for the sloppy basketball that they played. They played very sloppy against McNeese State, but McNeese State didn't punish them for it because McNeese didn't make any shots.
Shot, especially the first half,
which is ridiculous. McNeese had an advantage inside, and I don't think they used it enough in that.
And they did it against the game before. I'm surprised they didn't do that. Yeah,
I thought it was a bad way of going about it by McNeese State in that game. And you're right, Purdue got away with a ton of turnovers in that game. And if they do that against Houston, they will lose by margin in this game. I think Houston does win. I lean to them minus the 8. And look, they got a little credit to Mark Few. He threw pressure looks at Gonzaga did down the stretch against Houston, and it got them back into the game. They didn't handle the ball great, Houston, at the end, but I think now they'll adjust. Kelvin Sampson even said it. He didn't expect Mark Few to throw pressure. He never does that. And so it kind of threw him for a loop. But I think he'll have his team more ready for it if Purdue goes that route. He's an excellent coach. Painter's a good coach too, but Kelvin Sampson, excellent. I just think Houston's defense is the difference here, and they will win. They will advance. Do you want to lay the 8? I lean to lay in the 8, but what I did is that's the other team in the 2-team parlay I mentioned. Michigan State, money line, and I parlayed it with Houston, money line, and you can get that at plus 100 for Michigan State and Houston, money line parlay. That's the way I approached it here. C-Mac, what do you think here, Purdue, Houston? By the way, the money's come in on the under for this total. It's dropped a bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is under or nothing. I mean, Purdue's team total 61.5. I mean, I even lean to them under. I just think they're going to get exploited. This Purdue team, especially defensively and inside, like we had talked about, those two teams couldn't do it early on. But I got to give a little credit to Purdue. I just think this is kind of just a shitty matchup. It seems like the whole world's going to be on Houston here. You know what I mean? Like Smith, those guys are just going to be after hitting shots. Like they better, and that's always been a problem, is shooting the basketball against this great defense of Houston. Like if they're on, this game's tight. But if they're off here, Houston wins. I think they win by margin. I'm worried about them a little bit forward here. They play, Florida, Duke with Houston.
We saw some warts with their closeout against Gonzaga, which was not smooth from Houston. You're right.
Oh, second half was wild. A comeback. Yeah, it's like 100 points.
There were elements of that certainly confused me or were worrisome, I think, for Houston. No question down the stretch. All right, our final game for the Sweet 16 round on Friday night, Kentucky and Tennessee. SEC battle here. Two SEC teams going head-to-head. Tennessee, 4.5-point favorites, 144.5 the total. Styles make fights. If you believe in that, then I think the side you have to kind of bet here at this number is pretty obvious. I mean, Kentucky, 5-1 straight up, 5-1 against the spread the last 6 meetings against Tennessee. They've won both of the games outright as underdogs this year in the SEC regular season versus Tennessee. To me, Mark Pope has outdone Rick Barnes in both games. I'll even add on the fact that Tennessee in the NCAA tournament as a favorite, which is what they are here, 5-10 against the spread in their last 15 tournament games under Rick Barnes as a favorite. I have a hard time laying points with Tennessee in this game. And I actually, and I said this on the weekend, and they rewarded me. I finally laid the points with Tennessee and Rick Barnes in an NCAA tournament game against UCLA. But that was a totally different situation. UCLA to me was fugazi, zero offense to speak of, and Tennessee just put the fucking clamp down on them, and that was it. This is different now. Kentucky's really starting to gain some steam offensively. Now, Illinois saturated. Your team was dog shit in that game, but it goes without saying still, you got to give Kentucky credit. Lamont Butler looked healthy as he's been. Kobe Bray was outstanding. Otega Owe was a big deal in the paint, and he's the kind of guy that can certainly make it a tougher game here for Tennessee here in this game. So, I look at this situation with Kentucky. They've matched up well with Tennessee. They've won and covered both games this year, 5 of the last 6. We know Barnes laying points historically in the NCAA tournament, win and cover versus UCLA aside, has not been a very good situation. So Tennessee wins. I think it's a tough game for them to get through. And I'm going to take the Wildcats here, Kentucky, and Mark Pope plus 4.5 in this game. Nick, I'm with you here a little bit with the over. This game I could see going over the total because Tennessee, we think of them as a slow-paced, very good defensive team that struggles to shoot sometimes. But if you actually look down the stretch, they've gone over in 5 of their last 7 games down the stretch. And you look at the Kentucky-Tennessee games, during the season, they split the total. One stayed under and barely, and the other one did go over and got into the 150s. So I think this could be a game that gets up and over that 144.5. CMAC, final game for the Sweet 16 SEC battle here. What do you think? Kentucky, Tennessee.
I mean, yeah, the old can he beat the team, especially in conference, 3 times, I think will be difficult. But I don't trust Barnes. So I did have the under, which was good. I had UCLA, so that was just a 1-1 split on the weekend. But I don't trust him laying this kind of number. I like the other way, the under here. I think this is too many points. Like Tennessee just can't get up and down in a game like this with Kentucky. And they've kind of been, in the past, even this year, last year, a little bit, there have been some overs and they've been some low-scoring games.
Yep.
They're kind of like 66, 58. Weird games, and they've had a couple high ones, 85, 81. So what do we get here? I don't know. But, yeah, no trust in me here with Barnes at all. I think you just look to the under in this game. Kentucky's tempting here with the points, I got to say, especially with Rick Barnes. I'm just like, but I don't know if they can lose to this Kentucky team, 3 times this year.
That's always the tricky part with these. Look, I don't think there's one way to go about it. I've seen it both ways. I've seen situations where the team does beat them 3 straight times, and then I've seen situations where the team that lost the first 2 did win the third one. So it goes both ways. You still have to handicap.
I see that less, though, if these high-quality teams 3 wins in a conference like this. I'm just saying, like, that's a little bit lower that I've noticed.
You know what concerns
me? Has it happened yet?
You know what concerns me, too, about Tennessee in that UCLA game? Yeah, they won and covered. They won by 9. They got 35 points from Ziegler and Lanier combined. 35. And yet they didn't really blow that game really.
They did it with their defense. Yep. They're a slow team that needs to grind.
Yep.
And I think that's what they should do here. I don't know if you want to get up and down with Kentucky.
Slow down Kentucky and make them execute. In the half court is going to be
make forced turnovers.
100%. Yep, 100% going to be the game plan there. Great stuff. Shout out to Eric. And Gainey played well. You're right. 23 points for him off the bench, I believe, for Tennessee in that win against UCLA. He played very well. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Thanks for joining us here for the Sweet 16 edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Books show. Rez Mob, G. Martinez, Justin McKelvey, the King's back, Nick Alvento, Gold Jew, Ross Pitts, Saturated. I'm sorry about your Illini last weekend, but like I said, life goes on. It was still a pretty good season. They were frustrating, but life goes on.
Just no consistency with them. That was the only problem. Yeah.
Cheshire Cat, Daryl Benton. We appreciate you guys. Great support in the chat. Nasty Nate. Except for one person I see here, to Tom Boyd. Look, Tom Boyd, you're watching the show. You're helping us out. Regardless of what you think of the picks, you're helping us out, watching us and tuning in. So thank you for that. Redbeard and Canes Nation, everyone else in the chat, we thank you for it. And like I said, looking forward to being back with you on Saturday for the Elite Eight round of the NCAA tournament. All right, great stuff. Let's wrap it up, C-Mac. Best bets. You can have one best bet. You can go with a best bet for Thursday and one for Friday. Whatever you want. What do you got for us in the best bet?
Well, I haven't looked up the best number for this that Kentucky-Tennessee game, but I'm looking at the under, so I'll leave it at that. I already talked about two. All right, Michigan-Auburn, because that's done. I took the over. There you go. So for tomorrow, there it is. Tonight, as much as I think Duke gets over their team total, I'm on Arizona. I already talked about it. Team total under 72.5. Tonight.
Contain Caleb Love, contain Arizona. Maybe it is that simple for Duke tonight. So Arizona team total under for Thursday's best bet. Michigan Auburn over 153.5 for Friday's best bet for CMAC. I'll give you two best bets. BYU Alabama, even though it's a very high total, I'm going to give it to you. BYU Alabama over 175. BYU Wisconsin was my best bet winner on the weekend show. So that's for you, Tom, in the chat that says the best bets never win. BYU Wisconsin won on the weekend for me. We're going to go back to it here. BYU Alabama over 175 for best bet for Thursday. At Friday, best bet. Give me Kentucky. +4 actually is out there still at a couple books. Kentucky, just not a very good fit. And I'm going to look. Kentucky's matched up well with Tennessee. I'm not convinced Tennessee wins by margin. Maybe they win finally, but I see this could be a close game as well. And like I said, Kentucky has certainly matched up well. And Pope has matched up well with Barnes here this year. So Kentucky +5 against Tennessee. I'll use that for my Friday best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Thanks for joining us. Again, we got 3 shows left for college basketball. Elite Eight on Saturday. National Final Four next weekend, and then the national championship preview show, and then we're done with college hoops. But we are starting up play ball, baseball editions of Hitting the Books starting next week. Very much looking forward to that. No
baseball's back.
Baseball's back, and we will be back with baseball shows multiple days per week, starting next week. That's a wrap for CMAC. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night and Friday night. Enjoy the Sweet 16 round of the NCAA tournament, and good luck. And we will be back with you Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, with the Elite 8 preview edition of the college basketball Hitting the Books show. Until then, class dismissed.